Today, we'll be looking at a case study of a couple aged 63 with $2.5 million in savings who still felt like they couldn't retire. After years of helping people retire comfortably at Rubino and Lang Wealth Partners, we've seen how reaching substantial savings goals doesn't always bring the retirement confidence people expect that it would. That's exactly why John Conley and I are here making this video today, to show you why even $2.5 million might not feel like enough, and what's really holding you back from retirement. So let's get into it. All right, John. So these two clients, let's call them Jeff and Deb. They're 63 with $2.5 million in savings, and most of it's tied up in their respective 401ks. Before we get into the actions that you took with Jeff and Deb, can you go over a little bit more about what their concerns were before they met with you?
Yeah, Jeff and Deb were about age 63. They were hoping to retire at the end of this year. Jeff is, kind of maybe burnt out at the end of the day with his company, the commute, the travel, getting a little bit to him. And they want to see if they can retire at the end of this year. Their concerns were that they didn't really have a good understanding of where their income was going to come from, how they were going to make withdrawals from their portfolio, and maybe what the tax ramifications of those withdrawals were.
Okay.
And then they were concerned about the timing of turning on Social Security. And like most people who come and sit down with us, they're concerned of, do we have enough and are we on the right path? And they've never really sat down and came up with a true financial plan.
Gotcha. I can imagine the volatility of the market probably is insane too.
Yeah, obviously right now at this point in time with some volatility in the market, people get a little bit of squeamish and, sometimes they think that the sky is falling and things may be worse than they are and want to maybe make, knee-jerk reactions.
So they're uneasy with the market. They, like you said, they haven't really thought about how to properly withdraw from their retirement plans, and just being confused about what the rules and kind of some of the laws are now. That's really affecting their ability to commit to a retirement date, right?
Yeah, it's hard to commit to a retirement date when you haven't really run through the numbers and seen, hey, I can do this. Versus I got my fingers crossed, I have a pile of money and we're going to hope that it works and that the market works with us in this process.
Okay, so they're uneasy about the volatility of the market. They aren't sure about the rules and the laws of what they can do and can't do with the retirement funds. And they don't have a withdrawal strategy in place that you were just discussing. They weren't sure where to take from and at what times. So how was these things affecting their ability to commit to an actual retirement date?
Well, it's hard to commit to an actual retirement date if you haven't really run a financial plan and taken a look at where am I standing today? How do I envision my retirement to look like? How much income do I need? Where is my income going to come from? What is the tax ramification of withdrawals from my portfolio? Have I saved enough? How am I currently invested? Am I protected from a market correction? And so forth. So it's hard. I'm not too sure how people make that decision to retire without going through a pretty thorough process of looking at everything and coming up with a strategy that's unique to you and your circumstances.
Okay, so let's fast forward now to when Jeff and Deb come and sit down with you. What are some of the questions that you ask right away as they come in to meet?
Yeah, we want to get a really good understanding of who they are as individuals. We want to make sure that we understand how they envision what their retirement is going to look like. And that can mean multiple things. That could be, we want to be down in Florida for 6 months. Or it could be, hey, we want to take 2 or 3 trips down there for a couple of weeks at a time, but not 6 months. It may be, I want to rent something in Florida versus buying. So we want to get a good idea of what they envision their retirement to look like, what's important to them, and then from there come up with a strategy and a review of where is your income going to come from. And the most important number, I think, is not so much what you saved, but it's like, what do you need from your portfolio? And that is a good understanding of what your spending is going to be, but also where your income's coming from. So obviously, if we're bringing in Social Security or a pension and so forth, and then we're spending Y, and if there's a gap there, well, that's going to have to be made up from your portfolio.
Okay, so it sounds like you want to really figure out what their essential expenses are as they kind of begin this process.
Yeah, we want to know what your essentials expenses are. We want to know what your entertainment expenses are, and above and beyond just paying bills. You didn't work 20, 30 years at these companies to stop working just to pay the bills.
Do you ever ask them like what some of the like other advice that they might have heard throughout the years might be that could be holding them back from meeting before meeting you? Like, oh, I heard I needed X amount or this amount or some solid number. Does that affect people's ability to come in and speak openly with a financial advisor?
Well, you hear these different rules of thumbs, like Jeff and Deb. One of the things that they were nervous about was, do we have enough money saved? And one thing that they heard was that you need about 10 to 12x of your yearly salary set aside for your retirement years. So that is something that had them a little squeamish that they didn't have that set aside. So they were nervous or reluctant to sit down with someone originally because they didn't have that number and they thought they would be maybe judged or to that degree.
Gotcha. So you discussed their Jeff and Deb come in. A couple of questions you asked them is that what their essential expenses are, what they dream for their kind of retirement lifestyle, like you said, going on to Florida, coming back, spending time with the kids. Some of the I don't want to say like brick walls, but like you said, some of those misconceptions that people might have about retirement and how to actually properly go through the steps. Why is it important to understand all of these three things as you start to meet with a potential client?
Well, it's important to know how you envision retirement because we need to invest your money in a way that can meet your expectations or your circumstances and how you envision things to go. Mm-hmm. You want to make sure that what your lifestyle is going to be, that your portfolio can deliver the income or the level of risk that you may or may not have to take. So it's important to really get an understanding of how you envision retirement, how are you currently invested, mm-hmm. and where do you want to go and when do you want to go?
I think what's great is you guys kind of take that information and put people into like a framework, right? So you take a look at the numbers and as you start to build in not only the actual numerical and quantifiable stuff, like, okay, you have this for your essential expenses, this is what you want your lifestyle to be like, and this is what it's going to kind of cost. And then you address some of their concerns. You can say, okay, based on this information, you're going to be in one of these frameworks, and that can really set priorities as to what your action items are going to be for how you address their retirement plan, right?
Absolutely.
I love that. So before we go into their situation, real quick, if you feel like you're in a similar situation to the client we're talking about here in this video, where you don't know if you are truly able to retire, check out the link in the description where you can provide a few details about your savings, your goals, and your spending preferences. And within a couple of days, we'll send back a personalized video walking you through your retirement plan in a similar way to this video. All right. So now that we've learned a little bit more about the questions that you asked, John, what do we call them? Jeff and Deb, right? We changed the names to make sure that we protect them. Jeff and Deb's responses and how it was kind of impacting their situation. Can you go over the exact process you went through to help them understand their situation a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. So as you can see here, like when someone comes in, the first thing we want to do is make sure that we get a good balance sheet of where everything is and a detailed listing of their accounts. So as you can see, Jeff is age 63. Deb is actually turning 62 in a couple of weeks. They both were hoping to retire at the age of 65. And what we do is we take their life expectancy out to age 95. We kind of want to be out on the higher end of that. Okay. They have two children, Lucas and Mary Beth, age 34 and 30. And they both, when we talk to Jeff and Deb, we ask always, like, how important is it for you to leave an inheritance to your children on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being super, super important. They were in that 9 and 10 range where, they weren't going to go without, but they wanted to make sure that they left their children some form of an inheritance. Deb's mother had left her some money, so she wanted to make sure she did the same thing. So the next step, what we want to do is take a look at, we want to get a good idea of where their assets are. So they have a good emergency savings fund of $75,000. Jeff and Deb have a joint account with about $304,000. Jeff has his current 401k with his employer of $560,000. He has an IRA of $1.1 million with an old employer that he has rolled over into an IRA. And then we have Deb's 401k of $567,000. We have their house, $850,000, and a vacation home of $350,000. In all, their net worth is $3.8 million. Jeff and Deb are both high earners. Jeff is making around 300,000. Deb's making 275,000. We have their Social Security at age 65. If they turned it on, would be 41,000 for Jeff, 40,000 for Deb. And that was their understanding of when they were hoping to turn on Social Security. They're spending around $160,000 per year, and they kind of wanted to kind of continue that type of strategy. So once we get a good understanding of, hey, this is how we envision our retirement, this is what we need for income, this is where our income is coming from. So the first thing we notice is that neither spouse is going to receive a pension of any sort down the road. They're both going to get their Social Security, but anything that their shortfalls are going to have to come from their investments to make up for those lifestyle type choices. So the first thing we do is we jump into their plan, so to say, based on their current rate of return, what they're interpreting of retiring at age 65, turning Social Security on. They have about a 77% probability of success. So it goes to show us that they're on the right path, that there might be some room for some improvements, maybe refining things. And in this situation, for the sake of time, what we did is we went through each of their portfolios and we do an analysis on all of the positions that they have. We took a look inside their 401k plan and looked at the choices of the positions in there and really came up with a strategy to maybe enhance those to become more in tune with what they're trying to accomplish. But with that 77% probability of success, we went and we took a look at things and we said, well, what if we turned around and we change their structure just a little bit, where in this situation, they were hoping to turn on Social Security at 65. So we went and we did an analysis of if we waited till full retirement age, which in this situation was right around 67 years old. So we were pushing Social Security off 2 years. That was going to give them an extra 12 to 13,000 a year in income, as well as if they both stopped working at age 65, we noticed that at 65 and delaying Social Security until age 67, it actually brings them to an 88% probability of success, which is very good. And by doing that, we also changed some of their investments, slightly changed their risk tolerance ever so slightly to maximize growth and also protect on the downside. So just by making some enhancements and refining their portfolio, we've increased their probability of success pretty dramatically. So now all of a sudden they feel like, all right, now we're kind of on the right path here. And they obviously felt much better than they thought they were coming into this. And then the conversation became with Deb of she wasn't as quick to retire as Jeff was. Jeff was kind of burnt out. And then Deb's like, what if I worked one more year? I think she was doing a project at work that she was kind of enjoying. And we said, let's just change this till age 66 for your retirement versus 65. And when we did that, it jumps to a 98% probability of success just by small, subtle changes within their portfolio, understanding, phase 2 of this now becomes, what if we did some Roth conversions in XYZ year? Yeah. What is the tax ramification of our Social Security? Having a really good understanding, the cause and the effect of every decision we make. And when we went through this process with them, they started to see and understand how they were going to withdraw money, when they were going to withdraw money, that they actually saved enough in their retirement years, and they were much better than they thought they were. Now it just becomes, hey, how do we fine tune this? Then it becomes the estate planning side of things after, and protecting it from nursing homes and so forth, and estate taxes. So going through this process was very vital for Jeff and Deb to understand that, all right, we are in a pretty good position. We can refine it. and we call these like the what if scenarios. What if I work one more year? Or what if I waited till 68 to turn on Social Security? What does that look like? Or if we turn Jeff's on and delay Deb's Social Security, how does this all affect things? And that is the process that we go through with them. And then moving forward, when we have a yearly, we do quarterly reviews, but yearly we'll be updating these plans to show them where they are at that point in time for a snapshot.
That's great. John, thank you so much for the time.
You're welcome.
All right. Now that you've seen how guiding retirement transitions for clients with $2.5 million opens up some exciting retirement possibilities, we've discovered that the right strategy can transform this kind of nest egg into a lifetime of financial confidence, as you just saw with this example here. That's exactly why we've put together the complimentary retirement questionnaire to give you personalized, actionable advice for your situation. Once you've completed it, we will then send you a personalized video for you to take the proper steps to overcome your retirement situation. Just click on the link below and fill out the questionnaire and you'll get your video. Until next time, take care.